Lieutenant General Karen Gibson, former CENTCOM Director of Intelligence. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. It's good to see you. If my analysis is correct, in the game of chess, it is check on the Iranians now. And the question is, what do the Iranians do starting in 40 minutes? And if they go after a Navy ship or an international vessel, the war is back on. If they don't, we may move hour to hour, day to day, with some semblance of normal passage. What do you think of that analysis?
I think that's fair. I think this is a very bold move to both delegitimize Iran's chokehold on the strait, as well as deny them revenue, whether that's from tolls that they're extracting from vessels as they pass, or from the export of their own oil. And the U.S. military, particularly U.S. Central Command and the U.S. Navy, are well prepared to execute this mission. I do think there will be some throughput challenges. They cannot escort through or ensure the safe passage of the number of commercial vessels that were transiting before this crisis began. And I would also say that while our destroyers over the weekend demonstrated the feasibility of safely transiting the strait, it's really, at the end of the day, a business decision that will be made by commercial entities and their insurers as to whether or not this is a risk that they want to assume.
Okay, very good point there. If you saw the Wall Street Journal piece on Sunday talking about the fast attack boats, yeah, the greater part of Iran's Navy is at the bottom of the ocean, they've said. But what the IRGC did after a war with the U.S. in 1988, they developed these speedboats, okay? And what we were told last week is that there are lone wolves in parts of Iran that are still firing ballistic missiles at Gulf states or at Israel. And there still is that possibility. How do you analyze that, General, right now?
I'd say that's very true. I think it's a very asymmetric threat on Iran's part. It doesn't take much, as you've indicated, fast boats. It's not that complicated to lay a mine. It could be a missile or a drone that goes at a vessel that's somewhere else in the Gulf, not just in that narrow transit corridor at the Strait of Hormuz. And again, all they have to do is scare industry into believing that the risk is too great to really begin to continue the chokehold that they've had or limit commerce and freedom of navigation.
Okay, another question here about China. And Maria Bartiromo had the president on yesterday. I'll play the clip in a moment here. But our F-15 was shot down by a shoulder-fired rocket-propelled grenade, essentially, right? A man-pad. And that came from somewhere. And here's how the president answered that over the weekend on Sunday.
I hear news reports about China giving the shoulder missiles, what's called a shoulder missile, anti-aircraft missile. I doubt they would do that because I have a relationship and I think they wouldn't do that. But maybe they did a little bit at the beginning, but I don't think they would anymore. No. But if we catch them doing that, they get a 50% tariff, which is that's a staggering amount.
Calendar, you're a month away from Trump and Xi meeting in Beijing. What did you think of that answer there on the man-pad?
Well, I would say two things. One, Iran has incredible indigenous production capacity for all kinds of weapons. We've done a great deal to degrade their ability to produce weapons, but they've been very inventive over the decades of creating their own capacity. Two, perhaps it came from China. Time will tell, or if we get our hands on one. It wouldn't necessarily mean that it was provided recently or imminently. It could have been from stockpiles that were provided in the past. But definitely, I think the chokehold in the strait, more than anything, is a threat to China, much more than the threat of,
Let me nail that down here. Are you saying the man-pad could be made in Iran? Is that what you're saying there?
Certainly. They've developed all kinds of capacities that they've shared with proxies around the region.
Thank you for your time, General. Karen Gibson, thanks. 35 minutes away. We'll see what it gives then. Thanks for coming on.